Chairman, Bajaj Capital, Professor Tamar Almore, Dean, Faculty of Business, the College of Management, Israel, for joining us in the international conference. I also welcome respected Sri Shishir Jaipuria, Chairman, Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions, Sri Vinod Malhotra, Advisor, Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions, Dr. Devendra Narang, Director, Jaipuria Institute of Management, to the international conference. We at Seth Anandram Jaipuria Education Society have a legacy spanning 75 years in the education domain. We have established schools and colleges across cities in several states. Founded in the year 2001, Jaipuria Institute of Management is a leading business school in Delhi NCR with NAC Grade A accreditation. Our institute offers AICTE approved full-time 2 years MBA program, MBA in Business Analytics, and MBA in BFSI. We are well known in the industry for providing intellectually sound and ethical managers. Paying a tribute to the Almighty, let us join our hands for the lamp lighting ceremony. I request the dignitaries to please come forward for the lamp lighting ceremony.
कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय
I now request students from Jaipuria Institute of Management to welcome the delegates with a sapling. I request Ashlesh Shah to welcome Mr. Rajiv Bajaj, Chairman, Bajaj Capital. A very warm welcome, sir. Huge round of applause, please. I request Jaya to welcome Professor Tamar Almore, Dean, Faculty of Business, the College of Management, Israel. A very warm welcome, ma'am. I request Ria to welcome Sri Shishir Jaipuria. A very warm welcome, sir. Huge round of applause, please. I would request Sejal to welcome Sri Vinod Malhotra. A very warm welcome, sir. And I would request Palak to welcome Dr. Devendra Narang. Huge round of applause, please. International Conference is a signature event of Jaipuria Institute of Management. This is our sixth international conference on role of sustainable development goals in business and economic transformation. Launched by the UN in 2015, the SDGs are a set of 17 interlinked global goals aimed at transforming the world by 2030. With the slogan Leave No One Behind, through goals such as eradicating poverty, reduced inequality, responsible consumption, and production, the SDGs make the route to a better world more tangible and more actionable. Amid this, the institute sought to organize an international conference on role of sustainable development goals in business and economic transformation, ICSDG 2023. We will witness the scholarly work by the researchers which will facilitate the budding managers to understand the role of sustainability in business and economic transformation. With this, let me take the opportunity to invite Dr. Devendra Narang, Director, Jaipuria Institute of Management, for the welcome address. A seasoned administrator with over 2 decades of experience in managing institutions, an expert in government licensing, an extremely dynamic and professionally sound individual who envisions working for the skill development of the students, lessening the skill gap in the economy. A result oriented director with proven leadership and interpersonal skills, he has worked in the field of academia and management in best business and management institutes of India and abroad. Over to you, sir. Huge round of applause, please.
A very good morning to all of you. It gives me immense pleasure to be standing among the distinguished delegates and audience and welcoming all to the International Conference of the Role of Sustainable Development in Business and Economic Transformation, ICSDG 2023. Each year, the Institute organizes an international conference. The agenda of the conference is to witness the scholarly contributions of the academia in the current paradigm. These scholarly contributions add to the research world, which also aids, in lessening the industry academia gap. The journey of arriving at the decision of organizing the international conference on the topic role of sustainable development in business and economic transformation is very interesting. The world has undergone a tremendous change in the 21st century, be it 9/11, the Lehman crisis, the most unprecedented pandemic, or the Ukrainian war. The century has witnessed multiple unprecedented events, and these eruptions have brought a transition in the world that we live in. Even in this transitioning world, the human intellectual has not been compromised on any stage. We are constantly developing and upgrading ourselves, be it the education, technology, design, or innovation. We have been developing at extremely fast pace, but development is not unifocal. The development is coming at a huge cost. We, the humans, have been relentlessly, rather ruthlessly, exploiting the resources all around. This has been causing a damage that is irreparable. As the director of the Management Institute, I take it as my responsibility to facilitate young mind with thoughts on the importance of sustainability. While I was going through the thought, the world also having similar thought. The Sustainable Development Goals framed by the United Nations are extremely relevant in the current paradigm. The SDG proposed by the United Nations address a series of global challenges and have a vital role to play in business and economic transformation for the future decades. This is being achieved through the implementation of a series of innovative strategies and groundbreaking practices across the global arena, beat poverty, zero hunger, gender equality, affordable and clean energy, peace, justice, and strong institution, we are moving towards the partnership of goals. The world is moving in a collaborated manner at a decent pace. With these thoughts, as the director of the Management Institute, along with the team of my intellectual faculty, we decided to hold the conference at this extremely pertinent topic on the role of sustainable development in business and economic transformation, ICSDG 2023. I am also elated to state that we have attained more than 95 papers which are following the theme of role of sustainability in business and economic transformation for this conference. This has been received from all over the country along with multiple countries from the world. The 2030 Agenda for the Sustainable Development adopted by the United Nations member state in 2015 provide a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet now and into the future. At this heart, there are 17 sustainable development goals which are on urgent call for action by all countries, developed and developing in global partnership. In fact, we as a education institutions and the education group, we are also working very hard on this. In fact, I'm very happy to share that one of our advisor, Mr. Vinod Malhotra, in fact, has written two books on this 17 SDG goals, and in fact, we have given to all of you into your kit. One is in English and one is in the Hindi, and he's written all the SDG goals in a poetry form, which is a true reflection what we need to do in the coming decades. At this juncture, and in fact, for this conference, because we perceived quite a long back, so he's constantly advising us for this execution of this conference. So in the last, at this juncture, I pay my gratitude towards our respected chairman, Shri Shishir Jaipuria, chairman Jaipuria Group of Educational Institution, who always been motivating us, Shri Vinod Malhotra, advisor, Jaipuria Group of Education Institution, and I'm very extremely thankful for Mr. Rajiv Bajaj, Chairman Bajaj Finance and Bajaj Capital for Bajaj Capital for joining us, and I'm really looking forward to hear Mr. Rajiv thoughts. I heard he's a very good speaker and having lot of TEDx sessions. I also extend my gratitude towards Professor Tamar Elmore, who flew all the way from the Israel as an educationist and an extremely renowned academician. She has been extensively working towards the betterment of the world. Students, as the budding manager, you need to realize the indispensable role of sustainability. You are the future drivers. The efforts that will be put by you towards the sustainable development of the world will act as a crucial driver for the whole world. I welcome all the academicians, authors who are contributed many papers, and the people from our corporate media for attending this conference. And this platform is to showcase by the author for their scholarly work is the real opportunity. So this work of their papers to the budding managers will give a emphasis on understanding the role of sustainability. So without much delay, I welcome all our esteemed delegates on this dais, corporate participant, faculty from academic fraternity, and my dear student to this international conference. This will really to be extremely fruitful for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking us through the journey of organizing the International Conference on Role of Sustainable Development Goals in Business and Economic Transformation. As a management institute, steps like these will help the budding managers in understanding the role of sustainability. Let me now welcome Sri Shishir Jaipuria for the inaugural and the theme address. Mr. Shishir Jaipuria is the chairman of Seth Anandram Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions, which has been in the field of education for more than 77 years. Presently, the group operates in all verticals of the education landscape and runs 16 K 12 schools, 4 preschools, 2 management institutes. Jaipuria Group presently has a strength of 20,000 students, 15,000 alumni, 900 educators, and has its presence in 15 cities across North India. Mr. Jaipuria is also the chairman at FICCI Arise, the vertical of FICCI which takes care of interest of independent schools. Over to you, sir. Huge round of applause, please.
Respected Chief Guest, Mr. Rajiv Bajaj, Chairman and Managing Director of Bajaj Capital Limited, Keynote Speaker, Professor Tamar Almor, Dean of the Faculty of Business, the College of Management Academic Studies, Israel, Shri Vinod Malhotra ji, Advisor to the Group, Dr. Deven Narang, Director, Jaipuria Institute of Management, eminent guests, faculty members, and dear students. Namaskar and a very good morning to all of you. First of all, I must confess, with people like Vinod Malhotra being here, who has done such a seminal work in terms of SDG goals and writing these books, I am not the best person to talk about the SDGs, but I'll try to do justice with regard to what I perceive from the corporate sector as to what is the changes that are taking place and how it is beneficial both for the corporates, for the governments, for the nations to be able to adopt these in the whole systems. Friends, the role of the Sustainable Development Goals in business and economic transformation, the topic of today's discussion, is of special significance in the contemporary context. It merits extensive discussions and open exchange of ideas, not just in academia, but also in industry as well. I am pleased to see two stalwarts from the industry and academia, our distinguished guests here today. Let me extend a very hearty welcome to both of you. Friends, we live in a world that is beset with several challenges of all fronts. We are already more than 8 billion people and counting, desperately trying to survive on the continuously depleting natural resources. Nations across the world are grappling with issues like inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, geopolitical tensions, conflicts, injustice, and violence of human rights. Communities and cities are buckling under the democratic pressure. According to the World Bank data, around 700 million live in extreme poverty worldwide, and they struggle with hunger, malnutrition, lack of potable water, sanitation, and basic amenities. As many as 290 million children have been put out of school during the COVID pandemic as report. These disturbing numbers. The primary objective of the Sustainable Development Goals, adopted by the United Nations in 2015, was to create sustainable, equitable, and progressive world. The 17 SDG goals are a blueprint for addressing the global issues through collective action by the government, civil societies, private sector, and dedicated individuals and communities. They are sought to be achieved by 2030, which is not very far off. These 17 goals are deeply interconnected. And according to me, the two major challenges that the world is facing relate to increasing inequality and climate change. The first can be addressed by focusing on providing quality education, creating right infrastructure for health and well being, providing right skill sets leading to employment generation, and ensuring that each person gets adequate nourishment at a reasonable cost. Likewise, to address the climate change issues, companies and governments will have to actively engage in promoting sustainable and environmentally friendly products. Companies will have to reduce waste, recycle goods, reduce water consumption, and focus on green energy by reducing dependence on fossil fuels. These larger issues have to be have to be addressed by corporates along with the support of the societies and governments. This will create a world that is socially fair and equitable, environmentally secure, economically prosperous, and globally inclusive and resilient. Today, all sectors, including manufacturing, retail, banking and financial services, hospitality, tourism, aviation, entertainment, IT and education, etc., have to identify their purpose and have a compelling vision to meet the new requirements of the SDGs. A greater thrust is being provided by adoption of integration of technologies in reaching out to the people in the remotest areas and extending benefits to them. The increasing internet penetration and mobile usage is connecting people and providing quality services effectively and efficiently. Traditionally, businesses have focused on the goal of profitability, scalability, and growth. Product strategies and marketing practices were created with the exclusive view to gain competitive advantage, capture a greater market, and catalyze an organization's short term as well as long term growth. However, today, in view of the global challenges earmarked in the SDGs, businesses are increasingly rethinking strategies, redefining their visions, and adopting the practices of business behavior that are aligned to the new and emerging sustainability paradigm. Businesses are becoming more innovative, more creative, are using resources more efficiently, and outreach to drive change both within their companies and around the world. Today, even consumers, aggregators, investors are better informed than ever before. They want businesses to take responsibility for their action. They want corporate vision to be aligned with the sustainable goals. Companies have to find ways and means to meet the expectations of the stakeholders, simultaneously ensuring profitable growth while taking an adequate care both of the people and the planet. According to the Business of Sustainable Development Commission, the SDGs are anticipating to generate at least 12 trillion US dollar worth of market opportunities by 2030. The businesses can reap the benefit for themselves and for the markets by identifying and mitigating risk to people and to the environment by providing new products and services that support sustainable development. Businesses today are adopting SDGs and they are clearly seeing an opportunity to enhance their business and increase market access, reduce cost, and come out with innovative ways to cater to a larger consumer base. They are developing targets, setting business objectives with measurable outcomes, and creating a robust reporting system that is transparent and progressive in outlook. According to Bill Gates, 51 billion tons of greenhouse gases the world adds to the atmosphere every year. The same has to be zero in due course. The enhanced alignment of businesses with the SDGs goal is leading to the rise of what is called the green economy. It is an economy which is characterized by low carbon emission, efficient resource management, and socially inclusive practices. The green economy provides a macroeconomic approach to sustainable economic growth with a central focus on investments, employments, and skills. The trends indicate that there is a surging demand for workers who can fill the green economy job. The advancements of technology, adoption of AI, big data, drone based aerial photography are enabling agriculture to improve productivity by reducing water and pesticide consumption. Supply chain and logistics are being streamlined, and food delivery systems and mitigating the wastage and food of the food produced. According to an ILO report on jobs in green energy, the transition to the green economy will inevitably involve destruction of some jobs, but at the same time, the creation of new ones. The ILO estimates that about 100 million new jobs can potentially be created by 2030, leading to a net job creation of 25 million jobs. We may look at some of the examples of companies and learn from them. Nike, the international sports brand, which has adopted mission statement move to zero to make a transition towards zero carbon and zero waste practices by including cleaner energy in their manufacturing process and increased use of recycled material in their products. With this mission, Nike is contributing towards responsible consumption and production. Likewise, Unilever in 2010 introduced the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan, which made purpose and enriching others the core of their business. All these companies are ensuring that they give more to the planet than what they take. Large number of Indian companies have also embarked upon a similar journey and are reaping sustainable profits by focusing on the various initiatives relating to the SDGs. Looking ahead, a new global paradigm for business and economy is emerging, wherein sustainable practices and goals will be deeply embedded within corporate philosophy and vision. Integrity and values will have a huge role to play in transforming business models and systems for the future. There will be greater recognition of the fact that the development must balance social, economic, and environmental sustainability. We, being in the education system, also feel that these things have to be taught to the children right from the early ages because once you are able to inform the things to the children, it then communicates to the parents and also to a larger community. And hence, our focus on SDG is becoming more and more aggressive, and we are partnering with various associations to ensure that we are able to make a significant impact in these areas. The aim and purpose of this international conference is to deliberate upon the strategies and steps that are required for business and economic transformation within the broad parameters of Industry 4.0 for a sustainable future. It is also essential to recognize that while the business and economic growth shall have to align themselves to the mandates of the SDG, it is indeed the responsibility of every resident, every person on the planet, to act and contribute toward the goals of sustainability. I am sure that the addresses by our esteemed guests will throw more light on the theme of the conference. It is particularly significant for India, which is heading towards becoming the third largest economy in terms of GDP by the year 2030. Our emergence as a global leader is apparent in the G20 presidency and its pertinent theme of Vasudev Kutumbakam, which means that the world is one family and is very much in line with the vision of the sustainability. The fast pace of our country's economic growth and the unflinching commitment towards SDG will be the central to our progress and emergence as a developed nation in the Amrit Kal. On this note, let me congratulate the director, Dr. Narang, all the faculty members, all the people who have contributed and written papers, the researchers for this conference. And I must say that this is very timely, and this initiative taken by the Jaipuria Institute of Management will go a long way. And I want to see that today's deliberation will have an impact amongst the students, amongst all the stakeholders, and people who are here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your address. Problems such as inequality and climate change, as per your address, are among the major concerns of the world. The global goals, also known as the Sustainable Development Goals, will be a transforming milestone for the world. With this, we are extremely elated to have the keynote speaker of the day, Professor Tamar Almor, Dean of Faculty Business, the College of Management, Israel. Dr. Tamar Almor received the status of full professor in the year 2019 from the Council of Higher Education in Israel, and she serves currently as Dean of the Faculty Business at the College of Management in Israel. Her research focus on the international business strategy and global entrepreneurship, and she has tens of publications in leading journals. In addition, she has edited several special issues for the leading journals as well as multiple academic books. She serves as a member on various editorial boards of leading international journals. She has more than 30 years of experience in teaching courses and programs in Israel and overseas related to international strategy, global innovation, and international entrepreneurship. In the year 2020, she was appointed Fellow of the European International Business Academy, where she also serves as a board member. A very warm welcome, ma'am. Over to you. Huge round of applause, please.
Okay, thank you. Is it possible to see that? Okay, very good. So thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really honored to be here today. Thank you so much. Um, Especially Professor Narang, Director of the Jaipura Institute of Management, and Mr. Shishir Jaipuria, and Mr. Rajiv Bajaj, Mr. Vinod Malhotra. Thank you so much for this really special invitation. Dear faculty members, and especially my dear colleague and friend, the Dean of Students, and dear students, it's really an honor today and discuss with you just in a short talk something that was decided upon by the UN in 2015. In 2015, it was decided that all the countries in the world are going to try and better the world that we are living in, because I think it is clear to every one of us that if we continue like we are today, we cannot leave, we're not leaving anything for the future generations. And if we want to leave a world for our future generations, we have to make big changes in the way we live and the way we do business. So as a result, countries in the world decided upon 17 sustainable development goals. I must say, very ambitious goals, and to be achieved in 2030. Now we're in 2023 already. I think it's a little bit too ambitious. Probably we will not be able to achieve those goals in 7 years, but at least I hope we are on our way to make a difference. And let's start with the first goal. The first goal is actually, as you can see, the thing of poverty, no poverty. Now, if we look at the data, and as a researcher, I always like to talk about data, we actually can see that especially the last report about sustainable development goals from 2022, the report that was just published, was actually quite depressing to my, really, I think not only mine, but I think everyone's disappointment. The data show that as a result of COVID-19, climate change and conflict are actually predominant. There are a lot of problems with food, nutrition, health, education, the environment, and also peace and security. Well, in this part of the world, you might feel it less, but the war that is taking place in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia, is really affecting all of us in the world. And the way we have recuperated from COVID-19 is not good enough. And the report talks about the need for more peace and more diplomacy rather than strife and war. It talks about low carbon, resilient and inclusive development, and it talks about transforming international finance and debt architecture. Actually, if we look at the financial situation in the world, and that takes me to my next data, we can see both a depressing but also an optimistic picture. I don't know how well you can see the data from where you're sitting, but actually when we divide the world into 4 parts, the thing is that still only a very small portion of the world is very wealthy, and that is the little black or dark top of the pyramid. That is actually the group of people. We're talking about something like a little bit more than 1% of the world population that is wealthy. And that 1% of the world population not only is wealthy, but actually owns about 45% of the wealth in the world. Now, if we go to the bottom, we can see that more than 50% of the world population is still considered very poor, poor and very poor. So more than half of the population in the world is poor, and probably we will not be able to change that in 7 years. However, as said, the picture is not only depressing, the picture is also optimistic, because actually if we compare, and that is what we see, we have 2 pyramids here, and one is about 2011, the other one is from 2021, so that's a 1 decade, 10-year difference. And actually what you can see even visually without seeing the data, you can see that from 2011, the right-hand side of the pyramid, to 2021, you can see that actually the percentage of poor people in the world has declined quite a bit. And on the other hand, we see growth. And I think that is the most important part. We see growth in the rise of the global middle class. So we actually see that there is a middle class developing in the world, and especially in developing countries such as India. So that, I think, is a So actually, while the data show that the process is very slow, and as said, we probably won't reach the target in 2030, we do see that change is taking place despite COVID, despite the war, despite the different processes that are taking place in the world. So, if we look at an even longer period of time, if we take the last 200 years, and this is also data that I really like showing, if we actually look at the last 200 years, we can see that the world is changing. So I think, first of all, when we talk about SDGs, we really have to have a long term view. We cannot just look at specific years. But if you look at the last 200 years and how the world developed, you can actually see that in 1800, most of the world was poor. So I don't know how well you can see it, but there is this line here, more or less, that shows how many poor people there were in the world compared to rich. And so in 1800, about 200 years ago, most of the world was poor in all areas of the world. Now, if you look at 1975, you actually see that there are two humps. So, still part of the world remained very poor, especially the Asian countries, India, the African countries. But on the other hand, countries like the United States, like European countries, most of the European countries, Japan started to become quite wealthy. And if you look at 2015, you can actually see that most of the world is moving into wealth. So again, what I think one of the things we have to keep in mind that when we talk about wealth and when we talk about developing the world, we really have to look at the long-term picture. This is not something that happens in 1 or 2 years. But yes, we do have the technology, we do have the knowledge, and we do have the capabilities to make those changes. I think another very important part of the story of the SDGs is progress of global literacy. And again, it's difficult to see from where you're sitting, but I think in general, if we take the years, it runs from 1820 to 2021. You can actually see the black line is the world. So 87% of the world is now literate, which is a huge change that took place, especially the last 50 years. And again, a lot of it thanks to decisions made by the UN to make the world literate. We do know that if people know how to read and write, it really makes a change in the world. And the interesting thing is that it's especially important for women to learn how to read and write. We know that especially educated women make changes in the world. When we educate women in the world, they'll have less children, they understand better how to take care of their families, they will push their children towards literacy. And so it's very, very important actually to invest in women and have women become more educated because it's the women who are really the driving force in this world. And you can, again, you can see it in the data, and it makes a big difference when everyone knows how to read and write. So while we are in a period of crisis, as said, we were in a period of COVID for 3 years. There are wars. People are recuperating from a difficult period. Crises also create new opportunities. And actually, when we look at how businesses are changing, we can see that there is more impact and high impact entrepreneurship. So, lots of new ventures trying to create entrepreneurial ideas that not only better the entrepreneur themselves, but also the world. There, we talk about the circular economy, giving back, not only taking, but also giving back. We talk about sharing. Okay, the sharing economy is making a lot of changes in the world. And so we talk about communities. It's not only about the individual becoming successful, it's about the community becoming successful. And really, I think when we look at crisis, they're always a good opportunity to change. And so I think what we see, especially in the Western world, which is very individualistic nowadays, we actually see that there is more movement towards building communities, more investment in trust. Actually, some research I'm doing with some colleagues about trust building, we see there is more and more trust building, which is extremely important when we talk about being successful and being able to apply SDGs in business world. We have to talk about how to create trust between the people we work with, between our different stakeholders. And actually, when we talk about multinational companies and how multinational companies can impact and use SDGs to become more successful, we can talk about five aspects. So I would say the first aspect, and a really important aspect, is the CEO. And well, in a way, we might ask ourselves, how can it be that just one person, the director or the CEO of a company, can make such a difference? But people can make huge differences. And actually, some research we have been doing the last few years is called the CEO effect. So it's really about how huge organizations can be impacted by the behavior of just one person. And I think a very good example is the person who used to be the chairman, the chairperson of and the CEO of PepsiCo. You probably have heard of her because she's originally from India. So I guess you're very proud of this lady, Miss Indra Noya. She was the CEO of PepsiCo. Now, it's for me, it was really interesting to look at her policy because PepsiCo, at the end of the day, makes food and beverages that are not really healthy for people. So we talk about soft drinks, we talk about chips, Frito Lay. They have basically, this is a company that creates products that are not that healthy for the people. And so, interestingly, to see how the CEO of such a company decided that rather than only focusing on quick profits and on the profit line, she actually invested a lot in what she called performance with a purpose. So she invested a lot in nutrition, in getting schools to become more nutritious, in adding, in addition to the vending machines, which of course are the way to market the products that PepsiCo is responsible for. She had a whole program, she installed a whole program where schools would start providing nutritious meals for their children and not only vending machine meals. She talked about lessening the environmental footprint of the company and empowering its associates. And so this is really, as said, I found it really interesting to see how just one person can make such a change in the way a whole huge international company looks at the world and changes the way it behaves. And actually, this meshes with some research that we published in the Journal of Organizational Behavior, where we looked specifically at the influence of gender in boards of directors. And what we found is that actually by adding only one person, one woman to the board of directors, companies become more environmentally aware and will invest more in SDGs. And that is actually an effect we found in all countries in the world, in all cultures in the world. So it was a huge research we did. We had about 100,000 points of measurement. And so we really did find that, first of all, adding women to the board of directors changes the way companies behave. They become more viewing the long term and looking more at SDGs and not only at the bottom line. So, one, I think what is important to take away from this is that people, and the interesting thing, by the way, is it's about people in power, but also people not in power can make changes in the organization. So even a person that is not a leader in the organization, but is very convinced of making a change in the organization, we see that even such people can make big changes in organizations. So yes, by educating young people in SDGs, young people that then join big multinationals, we can actually make changes in the world, even though these are individuals, but they can make changes in the world. So I think that is one point that is important to talk about. The second point, what we see is that a lot of companies now use KPIs, key performance indicators, which they base on various SDGs. So here you have an example of a company which is originally a Finnish company called Kemira. As you can see, they actually have changed part of their goals to align with various SDGs. And that is something you can now see for a lot of MNCs, a lot of multinationals. They will take part of the SDGs and actually align part of their goals with the SDGs. So Chimera has this in all its reports, but not only Chimera, you can see it in the reports, in the yearly reports of most companies. A third point that we see is happening with a lot of multinational is that they appoint a new person to a new position called Chief Sustainability Officer. So that's also a new role that did not exist so far in organizations. I mean, you used to have financial officers, marketing officers, but now a lot of companies like H&M appoint someone who is actually responsible for sustainability within the organization and has to think about how to make the organization more sustainable. So, for instance, in H&M, at least in Israel and in Western countries where we have such a surplus of everything, you can actually return the clothes you bought at H&M after having worn them, and you get like a small return in funds to make a future purchase. So that is one way, for instance, of creating a circular environment rather than just throwing it out. And we see that, of course. And so, as said, that's the third point we see with MNCs. The fourth point is key targets by 2030, which is also quite new for MNCs to look at the long term and not only the short term, not only quarterly reports, not only yearly financial reports, but look at key targets. So Bayer, a huge pharmaceutical company, has its key targets again aligned with certain SDGs, as you can see here. So they actually chose 4 SDGs to align with in 2030. And the fifth point is strategic partnerships. And you can see Philips, another huge MNC, that actually has the mission to provide access to quality health care for 100 million people a year in underserved communities by 2030. And they want to do that by creating strategic partnerships with non governmental organizations in various countries, but also local entrepreneurs, governments, and so on. But really, again, based, as you can see, they base themselves on SDG 3 and 17, and they decided that that is part of their mission for the next 7 years. So actually, what you can see here is that while it's difficult to talk about short term, we can actually see that the SDGs are affecting the multinationals, and multinationals are changing their way of looking at the world. Their prism is changing. Um, and we see that MNCs understand that we have to invest in SDGs. And that is, of course, MNCs. But as said, we can see the same among entrepreneurial companies. So I think if I sum up what we can take away from the data and from what we see here is that on one hand the world is still very volatile and uncertain, especially since COVID. But the world economy is such, there is a lot of talk in the Western world about deglobalization, so going back in time, but it's not going to happen. The world is so entwined. I mean, there is no way that we can go back. And so basically, I think most MNEs understand that there is no other way but implementing the SDGs, taking it as part of their worldview for long-term planning. Um, and so I really think what we have to do is be educate, be aware of the SDGs, make sure that more women are part of management teams and directorships, invest in education of women, and think about long term. I think it's very important to think long term and see how we can make the world a better place, a world that will be as nice to live in as it was for us, for our children, and for our grandchildren. So, really, the SDGs is about coming together at all organizational levels, MNCs, but also SMEs, entrepreneurial companies, government owned companies, non for profit, and financial organizations. And I would like to leave it at that. Let's try and create a more sustainable world for future generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking us through the journey of last decade pertaining to the global wealth, for leaving us with an extremely optimistic thought. It is a great privilege to welcome Mr. Rajiv Bajaj, Chairman Bajaj Capital Limited. Mr. Rajiv Bajaj is prominent Indian business leader, widely recognized for his contribution to the financial services industry in India. With over 3 decades of experience, he has established himself as a trusted advisor to many individuals and businesses seeking to achieve financial stability and success. As the chairman and MD of Bajaj Capital, Mr. Rajiv has spearheaded the growth of the company into one of the leading investment services providers in India. Through his leadership, Bajaj Capital has helped countless middle income Indians to achieve their financial goals, providing them with an access to a wide range of investment products and services, including investment banking, investment advisory, insurance brokerage, and financial planning. In addition to his professional achievements, Mr. Rajiv is also an accomplished speaker and mentor. He has delivered TEDx talks on the topic of Ikigai and is a well regarded life coach and mentor, helping individuals and businesses to find their purpose and achieve their full potential. Mr. Rajiv Bajaj is a dynamic and visionary leader who has made significant contributions to the financial services industry in India and has helped countless individuals and businesses to achieve financial well being and success. Over to you, sir. Huge round of applause, please.
Hello, friends. How are you? So, everybody on the stage, off the stage, our guests from outside India, Avi, and everybody else, all the students and faculty present in this room and sitting in other rooms. As Devenderji just told me that there are 300 people in different auditoriums. Everybody could not be accommodated. So, my big hello to all of you who are not here, and also many people who are watching online, because this is a live stream and I've also shared it with a lot of number of my colleagues. So um, thank you very much and for calling me here today. Ikigai and sustainability. So when this topic was given to me uh, several hours ago, I started thinking about it, and I could find so many connections between Ikigai and sustainability. And over the next few minutes, let me try and take you through this journey. And as I'm a business practitioner and I'm not as learned as people on this stage, uh, therefore I would like to share my own experiences, examples, and even look to interact with you as students. So please be prepared. Don't be surprised if I call out any of you and ask you a question. Just trying to, which way do I point? Okay, wonderful. Ikigai is a Japanese word. I'm sure many of you, have you read the blue book by the Spanish authors, Ikigai? How many of you, if you can raise your hand? How many of you? Okay. So amongst these students, so first thing, guys, you need to do, spend 300 odd rupees and buy this book, because this is a very, very significant investment you'll make in your career. Ikigai by Hector Garcia and Francesca Miralles. Now, these two people, they introduced this concept, the Japanese tool for leading a happy life. How many of us want to lead a happy life? Okay. Does anybody not want to lead a happy life? So sustainability is a larger than life word, and many a times, we as ordinary humans, we think, what do I have to do it? मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? I'm such a small person in a small community. What could I do? I believe that is where Ikigai helps you resolve it in your mind, that this is the biggest mistake we make. We as one person can change the world, and it has been proven by none other than the father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi. So Ikigai means knowing the purpose of your life. Did Mahatma Gandhi know his Ikigai? Yes or no? Yes. And do all of us know his Ikigai? Yes, his Ikigai was to free India. So it is as simple and clear. When the whole world knows your Ikigai and you know your Ikigai, then you will become a person who will make an impact on the entire globe. And even years and decades after you're gone, you'll be remembered. Nelson Mandela is one such example, another such example. So, do we know Nelson Mandela's Ikigai? Purpose of life? Yes or no, guys? People at the back, students, have you had morning coffee? Yes, yes. Please, I need to hear your voice. So, Ikigai is knowing purpose of your life. It is about leading your life with enthusiasm and passion, because when we know purpose of our life, our enthusiasm, our passion, the rigor what we take to the job, and I'll talk about it more in the following slides, it just goes up multifold. It improves our problem solving ability. It makes us happier. What is SDG, Sustainable Development Goals? As Tamor, said it so eloquently, and our presentation was so research backed, and I took several notes for myself. There were so many learnings for me. Uh, Sustainable Development Goals, the keywords, if I note, it is about the whole world develops in a uniform manner. In community, there are less poor people, there are more middle class people, and many of them who can go on to become wealthy. That will make it a healthy and happy community, and building up to cities, countries, and the globe. Second is, it is about peace and prosperity. So in a way, Ikigai and sustainability both talk about peace and happiness, peace of mind. Ikigai is an inside out thing which we start at an individual level. So 8 crore people, 800 crore people on this planet, each one of them, if they within themselves, there is a lamp which lights up, and they say, I want to make a change in this world beyond myself. That is a world of Ikigai, and it will automatically make the world sustainable. So, as I said, Ikigai is about living a life of purpose aligned with our values. Please note the keywords. In these slides and in presentations, we don't remember everything. 15 minutes after all these sessions finish, when we are having our coffee, tea, and cigarettes, I hope, hopefully not. But, everything will be forgotten. Only some 2 or 3 key points will remain from each speaker, hopefully. So Ikigai is a way to motivate yourself. Motivation, self motivation is an invisible asset, but it is the most difficult thing. And our teachers, all the time, faculty are trying to, through even these programs and annual symposiums, they're trying to motivate us. They're trying to inspire us. Ikigai, when we lead a life in line with our Ikigai, we are more likely to prioritize sustainability with all our decisions and actions. So, Ikigai inspires us to make key decisions and actions in our life, and we'll build more on this. Discovering our Ikigai can give us a sense of direction and a reason to act towards achieving sustainable development goals. So, here the keywords are sense of direction and reason to act. Most of the times, as human beings, we have brilliant ideas, but we are not inspired or motivated to take action. हम लोग सोचते रह जाते हैं. So, how do we convert our thought into action, which tomorrow becomes our destiny or our legacy? So that is the point I have made so far. So again, park this thought in your head. Over the next few slides, let's try and find some answers together. Now, this is something I tell everybody. Guys, we say, अरे जिंदगी तो बहुत लंबी है, life बहुत बड़ी है. It's a very long life. You know, if and many people around the world now, the science and technology is talking about 100-year plus lives, people living up to 150 years in future. अरे भाई इतना लंबा जी के क्या करेंगे? एक दिन तो कटता नहीं है. So we have to think, uh, how do we make each day meaningful? What is the total span of our working life? It is 80,000 hours only. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year into 38 years. This is the average working lifespan of a person. So, is it not our responsibility that these 80,000 hours we make each hour productive and full of motivation, inspiration, and happiness? Do you agree, guys? The ladies sitting at the back and smiling and thinking. So, does it make sense, ma'am? समझ आ रही है कि नहीं? Yes, yes. So this is what you need to think. But this is the current stats. It's a Gallup report that, and this is stark, that 80% of the people in the world, staff is not happy. They are not happy in their jobs. They are not inspired. They are not engaged. They downright hate their job. People have gone in interviews and said, I hate my job. Isn't it alarming? I believe this is the biggest sustainability challenge for the world which needs to be resolved. And the change always begins with a spark in ourselves. Sustainability is a larger than life concept. It is top down. Whereas Ikigai is bottom up, it's inside out. It starts from within us. It's only when we start changing ourselves that the world around us will change. I was reading this beautiful quote which Sir was showing me. Par dharmo bhavyam, which is live your own destiny, duty, and nature. Don't you all of you see it when you enter this hall? It is on the it is the wallpaper. Now this is what our scriptures are saying. This is what has been written by our ancients, passed down through oral diction for 5,000 plus years. This is what our ancients are. This is ancient wisdom, culture of this country. Live your own nature, live your own destiny. In other words, dharma and ikigai are different names of the same thing. originating out of different cultures. Now, many of you, when you Google Ikigai and the image, click on the image section, this is what comes up. Ikigai is when what you love, look at the four circles. What you love, what you are good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. When all of it becomes one, when it all comes in unison, the sweet spot in the middle is your Ikigai. You know, many of you boys are watching IPL these days. So, you know, the commentator says, ये छक्का मारा इन्होंने और ball sweet spot पे लगी, right in middle of the bat. So that is to get into the sweet spot of our life, to get into the sweet spot of our profession. That is what we need to look at. How can we get into the sweet spot? Ikigai is that sweet spot when all these things become one. Another way of looking at Ikigai is when your passion, your mission, your profession, and your vocation, they all become one. That can be called your Ikigai. So focus on the right circle, which is what the world needs. So one integral component of Ikigai is being aware of what the world needs. So I want you to ask me this question: what is the difference between passion and Ikigai? There's a very subtle difference, but very important difference. Passion is when you do something for your own satisfaction. That is your passion. So, playing tennis, for example, Ikigai is something you do it for yourself and for your community, for people around you. You want to carry people with you. So, Sachin Tendulkar was earlier following his passion, but with age and maturity, after retirement, now he has formed a cricket academy. He is training youngsters. Now, cricket has become his ikigai. You understand the difference? This is how the evolution, and this gives you a reason to live each of these 80,000 days of your working life well, and also your life, which with medical science will become longer. It will be 80 years, 100 years, maybe 125 years by the time. Do you know that all the kids born after year 2000, about 10% of them will there will live to 100-year plus? Whereas in previous generation, I was born in 1970, in our generation, the probability of living to 100 is less than 0.2%. This probability has gone up from 0.2% to 10% for this generation. So think about the children, think about yourself, those of you who are born after the year 2000. Obviously, if you smoke and drink every day, none of above is true. So, Ikigai is focusing on what the world needs and what you can be paid for. And Tamar gave several examples of large multinational corporations, Bayer, Nike, even Unilever, PepsiCo, who are repurposing their organizations. So, when in your CV you write things like sustainability, purpose, passion, ikigai, not only are these important keywords, the recruiters are smart enough, they are much smarter than us. They will pick out whether your stated statement is just a CV element or it is truly something you believe in. I want to give you example of a young boy in Japan. You know, we have a team where we research ikigai, and we are writing a book together with a Japanese professor. We are researching and interviewing people. Last week, we have interviewed this youngster in Japan who would be in mid 20s. His name is Kojima Fujio. Kojima Fujio. And his company's name is Pirika. Pirika. So I will not take name of any large multinational here because you may think, "Arey, that's too big for me, I can't reach there." Pirika is a company started by this youngster in mid to late 20s. And this youngster, when he was around 10 years old, he decided he did not like dirt, lack of cleanliness in the community. He says, when I grow up, I will do something about this. I will do what the world needs and I'll get paid for it. He is now an impact entrepreneur. Tamar, you spoke of impact entrepreneurship. He is now an impact entrepreneur and he is going and doing work around this area. He has started a company. You should look up Pirika, Pirika. So if this gentleman, if Kojima can do it, why can't any of you? I see 300 Kojimas sitting here who can tomorrow collectively have a common passion, discuss it in the coffee shop today, tomorrow, and start conceive a venture and start it the moment you graduate from here. And make your institute proud. That 10 years later, Dean sir should talk about you and call you as the chief guest and not somebody like me. So organizations can play a very important role. Let's say you go into a job. Companies, recruiters, this is a message for all the recruiters. You can play a very, very important role in creating a purposeful environment. So we heard Indra Nui's example, profit with purpose. If I can give you example of my own company, Bajaj Capital, we are in the business of financial planning. And many of companies like us, we have mission statements, but we never read them. I have to confess that I've been working for 32 years, but I seriously read my mission statement only when I was on the journey of Ikigai, researching Ikigai. And I said, let's read our mission statement again. And I had goosebumps when I read the mission statement. Our mission statement is and was financial well-being over a lifetime. I'll repeat, financial well-being. So आप उसको जो भी नाम दे दो, investment advisory, investment banking, wealth management, these are all industry terms. But essentially money management. We are helping people. I'll stop in a few seconds. We are helping people become more financially secure. So in a way, one of the third goals, Malhotra ji has written, that it is being well-being, health and well-being. There is no well-being without financial well-being because finances are the biggest stressor in our life. उससे इतना टेंशन हो जाती है कि किसी को बंदे को हार्ट अटैक आ जाता है बैठे बैठे. And we see, अरे कोविड के बाद ये टपक गया, वो टपक गया, all these things we hear. So we need to first take care of our well-being and financial well-being. That's our job. Now we have gone to another next level of it, which is हमने financial को काट के कर दिया total well-being over a lifetime. Why so? We will also take care of your health because our founder, chairman, my father, Mr. K.K. Bajaj has this statement. वो clients को बोलते हैं, अरे साहब, what good is your wealth if you don't have good health to enjoy? So you must have good health first so that you can enjoy your wealth. You are coming to us for wealth management. Our former CEO, Anil Chopra ji, he one day came into my office and said, Rajiv, he virtually barged in. He was so excited. So I said, Anil, I'm busy with something. No, I have something important. Leave everything and talk to me. I said, okay. He says, I have a data to share with you. Our company has 4 million clients. Bajaj Capital has 4 million clients. But tell me, how many clients of ours are over the age of 90? I said, I don't know, maybe 50, 100. 4,500. 4,500. That day, it gave me a sense. We tell people, Shishirji, we were introducing to you this morning, we are the oldest wealth management business, 60 years old. Now, why does it matter to anybody if we are 60 years old? But We are the possibly the only wealth management company in India which has 4,500 clients over the age of 90. That means at least half of them have stayed with us for 3 generations. So in our website bajajcapital.com, the picture is 3 generations of clients. And 1 month ago, during research of my book, I went to one of such clients where I met 91-year-old client, Mr. Chabra, his daughter-in-law, and spoke to his son who had come from Australia, grandson. He says, all three are your clients. I said, I want a picture with all of you. Now, if we have a relationship with the 3 generations and we have such a long-term relationship which makes us sustainable competitive advantage, as a management institute in America will say in a fancy word, this is our sustainable competitive advantage. Our competition can beat us in everything. They can't produce 90-year-olds with 60-year-old relationship, 3 generations. That is our strength. That's what makes us unique. So if we have a lifetime relationship, we are promising our clients now that we will help you, give you tools to live to 100, and we will make your money last longer than you. Because the first and last principle of wealth management I learned in my life was money should live longer than us. We should not live longer than our money. You understand? So we should not, it should be our choice if we want to leave something for our children or grandchildren. Let them earn for themselves. Let us go all over the world doing holidays after 60 and enjoy ourselves. So that should be our life. Now, fortunately for me, and I close on this note, that having these conversations around the dining table, both my sons, Jay and Shivam, came back from US. They are about your age, 26 and 24. They have done startups. Jay has done a digital retirement startup. And his startup last year closed, contributed to 25% of total business of Bajaj Capital in 3 years' time. And he is focusing on retirement because his grandfather's statement is, the founder's statement is, treat your client's money like your retired father's savings, who's not in a position to earn again in life. And so give attention to every person's well-being, financial well-being, the mission, live your mission. But especially for people who will not earn it again after retirement unless they re-employ themselves. So that is their money is most precious. Everybody's money is precious, but their money who are retiring is most precious. So he focused his business on retirement, a startup he's done. And Shivam, my younger son, he's done a personal nutrition startup. If you want to see personalnutrition.com, where he has already served close to 10,000 people. He makes personal health assessment for them based upon Ayurvedic principles. So each one of us sitting in this room, our body is different and the nutrition we need is different. And as per Ayurveda principles, 10,000 years ago, Ayurveda solved it, whereas Western science is still struggling and researching it. So these are our ancient wisdom, how to live well, how to live purposefully, and live your own destiny, duties, and nature as written in Bhagavad Gita. Pardharmo bhavaha. With this note, ikigai and sustainability, I present and leave this thought to you. Live a life of purpose. You can make profitability. You can be profitable with a purpose, and you will make the world sustainable. All the best.
It was indeed an astounding session. Sir, thank you so much for taking us to this wonderful connection between our ikigai and sustainability. This will surely facilitate us making this world a happy place. We will enjoy peace and prosperity. We are now moving towards a salient part of this international conference, the release of the souvenir. So we are releasing the souvenir of the international conference on role of sustainable development goals in business and economic transformation. We are now releasing the journal of the international conference. This journal contains the scholarly work that we have received from all over the country as well as multiple countries in form of research papers. Thank you so much. Our students would be distributing you all a copy of souvenir shortly. I now invite Sri Vinod Malhotra, Advisor Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions, for the address and vote of thanks. Mr. Vinod Malhotra, a management graduate from Leeds University, UK, and LLB from Faculty of Law, New Delhi, has varied experience in administrative and quasi judicial roles. He has been with the Indian Administrative Services in the past. He has immense experience in administration at the district, state, national, and international level. As an avid reader and follower of Bhagavad Gita, he has authored 15 books on the subject covering management, leadership, and soft skills. Over to you, sir. Huge round of applause, please.
Good morning, namaskar to everyone. Uh, I've been asked to do two jobs. One, of course, to express vote of thanks to everyone, and second is to speak my mind. So I'm going to do both. Quickly, let me get over the vote of thanks. Thank you, everyone here, and thanks all of you. And by the time all of you know who's who is right at the dice. The second part is to share my thoughts, speak my mind, and I'm going to speak my mind for sure. Just let me just pick it up from ikigai, the word that we heard very frequently. You see, one of similar incident happened with one of the greatest scientists this world has produced last century, Albert Einstein. Having reached the pinnacle of his glory and having received Nobel Prize and all these accolades in the world, he was asked by somebody that you see toward the latter part of his life, he'd become very spiritual. And he said, somebody asked him, supposing you meet God, what are you going to ask? What question will you pose to him? So Einstein said, look, I'm going to ask him, how did you produce this universe? And I hope God gives me an honest answer. And then I'll be able to solve the mystery of the world because everything else is mathematics. I'm pretty good at mathematics. But then he paused for a while. Then he said, no, that's not the question I'm going to ask him. I'm going to ask him, why did you create this world? Then I will know my purpose of life. That's what the purpose of life you're talking about. Some of you who were the student of European history probably may have read about the history of Roman Empire. In fact, more appropriately in the present context, the fall and decline of Roman Empire. In fact, we put it another way, the hedonistic decadence of Roman Empire. Let me explain to you the hedonistic part of it. You see, hedonism is a typical criteria, typical word, the Greek origin, where a society is fully obsessed in seeking pleasures, pleasures of all kind, of food, flesh, flora, and fauna. And Rome was another empire of its kind who had probably acquired huge amount of power, and they reached the zenith of their glory, and then they started indulging in all kinds of pleasure-seeking activities. And their fall was much faster than their rise to the power. Now, closer home, we can have similar example. Gupta dynasty, then Mughals coming in here, the Englishmen coming here. In fact, Tomar mentioned about 1800, where people were very poor, and right across now they become very, very rich. But let me remind you, in the words of one British economic historian, it's not an Indian historian, British historian, he says around the 15th or 16th century, before the Mughals came to India, in fact, Babur came here in 1526. Before the Mughals came into this India, India had almost 33% of the world's global GDP share. One third of the entire GDP was in India. And by the time they left and the Englishmen came, it had come down to something like about 20 odd percent. And when in 1947 Englishmen left the shores of India, it had plummeted down to about 3%. Now, what really happened right across India suffered rape, plunder, loot by people coming from foreign areas. In fact, on a very lighter note, we now have the Prime Minister of Indian origin in Britain. I do hope sincerely that he's able to bring back some wealth that these people looted, including the Kohinoor diamond or whatever. So, any society, any civilization which has indulgence, extraordinary indulgence, ostentatious living, of all the resources that are available to them is doomed to die. So that's not sustainable. You see, गालिब एक क्या आप लोगों ने मशहूर शायर को सुना होगा, उसके दो शेर मैं आपके सामने शेयर करूंगा. शेर को शेयर करूंगा. निकलना खुल्द से आदम का सुनते आए थे, लेकिन निकलना खुल्द से आदम, खुल्द is heaven and Adam is the first human being, Adam. निकलना खुल्द का आदम से सुनते आए थे, लेकिन बड़े बेआबरू होके तेरे कूचे से हम निकले. When the word comes to an end, when you start falling from top to the bottom, that's what really happens. हजारों ख्वाहिशें ऐसी कि हर ख्वाहिश पे दम निकले. हजारों ख्वाहिशें ऐसी कि हर ख्वाहिश पे दम निकले. बड़े निकले मेरे अरमान, फिर भी कम निकले. That syndrome actually is a strong antithesis of sustainability. You see, our desires, our lust, our vasanas, our, all kinds of things, they never get satisfied. Potentially, let me just talk a very fundamental concept of sustainability. Fundamentally, each one of us sitting right here is a threat to this planet, threat to the sustainability. We've got to understand that. Let me tell you how. Every moment of our life, we take in oxygen from the atmosphere and throw up carbon dioxide. At a given point of time, look at about 800 crores people, 8 crore people in this world, spewing carbon dioxide every moment and taking oxygen. Do you think this is just sustainable? So each one of it, and on top of that is we don't stop there. We all keep extracting resources from this universe ruthlessly, recklessly. And how much do we pay back? What do we pay back? You see, you have to understand that you are a resident of this planet. You're not a permanent resident of this planet. You're only a tenant of this planet. Now, as a tenant, you pay rent. You got to pay back. How much rent are you paying to this planet? How much are you giving it back? That's a concept of sustainability. That's something which fundamentally all of us have to understand. We draw so much from this universe, from this planet. Another very disturbing feature is that linked with the population. According to one survey, this planet's resources are adequate enough only to sustain 4 billion people. And we are already at 8 billion, twice as much. Another thing which we must understand fully and comprehend and absorb is that all the resources of this planet are, you see, the earth operates on the principle of rejuvenation, recycling, regeneration. That's why we're talking about recycling. The simple characteristics of earth, you see, we do not have inexhaustible resources. Our resources of earth are finite. And nothing is going to come from other celestial bodies. We're not going to import anything from Jupiter or Mars or Moon or whatever, or Sun. Nothing's going to come from there. All is going to be happening right here. And how we judiciously use them, not exploit them, we've been exploiting them for the last many years. In fact, if you look at the history of civilization right from the beginning, this era, I'm not talking about the BC part, I'm talking about the AD part. Largely in the prehistoric time, we had what is called a community called hunters and gatherers. Then this word saw 3 different revolutions. Starting from, in fact, hunters and gatherers were the most sustainable pro people because they killed only to feed themselves for the day and never bothered about anything else. Then came the agriculture revolution. The agriculture revolution really involved wiping off millions of acres of forests from this world just to feed the growing number of people. So that is the beginning of lack of sustainability in this. Millions of acres of land, obviously the people had to be fed, but agriculture revolution, the first step in striking at the root of sustainability. Then, my dear friends, we got industry sitting here. Then became the industrial revolution. And that really gave a massive knock to the concept of sustainability. It spewed poisonous smoke into the air, filled the ground with chemicals, and there's no way to treat it. Earth was crying and screaming. Anyway, nothing could be done about that. But gradually, of course, we started using certain measures in terms of controlling the wastage, effluent, etc., etc. But the damage had been done. The earth is still crying with all kinds of toxic chemicals which are affecting the concept of sustainability and long life and health that we're talking about. Top it on, another aspect of, I'll come to the third revolution shortly, which is extremely important, relevant from the point of sustainability. Another thing which happened, industrial revolution also brought in a lot of wealth and riches in the world. Suddenly, person who owned just about a morsel of food, he had just a big plate full of food in front of him. I don't want to give an example of one example of a country like called America. I don't know how many of you are aware. That nation is notorious for wasting twice as much as they consume. Your typical restaurant visit, you'll find that, plate full of all kinds of food, half of them gets wasted. We have all this phenomena called the cruise ships floating around, the floating towns in the ships in the ocean, the Pacific and Mediterranean or whatever. That ship wastes about 10 times more food than the people who consume it inside. What I'm saying is the sheer waste of. I just try to sort of, bring you to understand the kind of thing, the way we are treating this planet. Whatever America wastes, that food can possibly feed about half the planet, if not half, at least 1/4. The poverty, we're talking about poverty and all these issues. These are some of the things that we all need to understand. Now, let me give you a very delicious example of what sustainability is all about. Very delectable, delicious. You buy a cake. You buy a cake from the market. And you place it on your table. It's a big cake. Now, you have an option to eat the cake in one go. Or you have an option to have about 10 slices of a cake. Eat it today. Keep it for tomorrow. keep it third day. In addition to that, not only you eat it entirely yourself, you give it to somebody else. That handles your poverty issue. That handles your zero hunger aspect of it. This is exactly is the problem that we have. You see, the entire humanity and the mankind, right since the beginning, has been driven by concept of not so much of need, but more of greed, avarice. I think let's all look at us, and I have no hesitation in saying that people who are either rich or the rich nations have been singularly responsible for striking the concept of sustainability. The per capita consumption of people who got more money, more power, water, air, energy, food is much more than what the rest of the people in this world can possibly. So I think we need to rethink, especially the people who are powerful. The countries, nations that are powerful need to rethink. Am I sort of striking a balance between luxury and austerity? I mean, I'm not promoting either of these, neither luxury nor austerity, somewhere in the middle. In fact, Rajiv talked about Bhagavad Gita, and he sort of it's splattered all over him. I'm personally very happy to see Narangi Apne sort of. I saw it there, seeing it here. There's a very beautiful verse in Bhagavad Gita, which actually espouses the overall cause of sustainability. You'll be surprised what all Bhagavad Gita can possibly tell you. It says, Yukta har viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapna bodhasya, yoga bhavati dukkha. Let me translate that. He says, Yukta har viharasya. Consume as much which is essential for you. Optimum utilization. Yukta har viharasya. Live your life in an optimal moderate manner. In moderation. Eat in moderation. Yukta cheshta karmasu. We go overboard when you're involved in some kind of work. Ye bhi karna, wo bhi karna, aaj hi karna. He says, Yukta cheshtasya karma. In your following, in your work, in your occupation, put in moderate, put in optimum effort. Don't go overboard. It doesn't help. That law of diminishing returns start coming in. Yukta har viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapna bodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkha. Eat, drink, work, sleep, and stay in an awakened state in a moderation manner. Don't sleep for 12 hours, 13 hours. Don't also spend about 2-3 hours in sleep, to a moderation. This is where equality, equanimity, samatva bhava, which is preached. You see, what we've done, most of us, we go into excess, extremes. That's what we have. Our pendulum moves it doesn't stay in the middle, it keeps on moving from both sides of the clock. And that's what really destroys our sustainability concept. Now, I was talking about the third revolution. We've covered agriculture, we covered industrial. The last revolution, which we're all passing through, is what is called knowledge revolution. Today we are in a knowledge economy. We are in a knowledge country. Information technology, digital technology, robots, machine learning, AI, artificial intelligence, all are, in fact, 2 days ago, so that's all knowledge driven. 2 days ago, we had this Dr. Rajaram Memorial Lecture. So Shishir recited a particular shlok from Bhagavad Gita, from chapter 4. Nahi jnanen sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate. What does it mean? Nothing is pure than knowledge. Nothing is pure than divine knowledge. Now, we got to be very careful about what kind of knowledge are we talking about. You see, we're extremely knowledgeable people. We're far more knowledgeable. I'm not sure whether the people in Indian context, in Vedas and Shastras and Bhagavad Gita, are far more knowledgeable, far more intellectual, but I'm not sure. But in this present era, we think that we moved forward. But what has that knowledge given us? The quality of knowledge is also important. We are going through a knowledge revolution, but then the same knowledge was responsible for Einstein to prepare that equation E is equal to mc square, energy is equal to mass into square of the velocity of light, establishing that matter, even an ounce of matter, has huge amount of energy. That same formula encouraged Robert Oppenheimer to produce an atom bomb. Now, what are we talking about? We're talking about sustainability. You see, the sum total of the total investment on defense combined together in countries like America, China, Russia, Israel, even India, can possibly feed the entire universe, or maybe much more than that. What are we investing in? Are we investing in our destruction or investing in sustainability? You know, any mad guy, I'm not talking about whether it's Russia or Ukraine or China, not defining anybody who's a mad guy, but any mad guy tomorrow can decide to throw an atom bomb and flatten the entire universe. Where is our sustainability? So I think leaders of the world really have to rethink about that. What are we investing in? You see, the concept of sustainability is very, very rooted in future, but it is impacted by what we do today and what we did yesterday. So it's very important for us. If you really want to live our beautiful life in tomorrow and leave for posterity, leave for us. Rajiv talked about grandchildren, great grandchildren. I mean, if you want to leave that for them, a beautiful word to live. It's a beautiful word. It's a pristine, beautiful word. We are the one. I often say that the contributions to sustainability is more robust and more profound. If you want to learn sustainability, go and learn it from the animals. Go and learn from an ant. She contributes more to sustainability of Earth than you and I do. A pride of lions, when they're not hungry, you find the deer antelope moving around them in close proximity because they don't need to eat them. They don't need to kill. But human beings are the only one who kill not for a cause necessarily. We kill for enmity, we kill for grouse, we kill because of anger. So if you want to learn the concept of sustainability, learn it from the animals. They're the biggest teachers. This is where I think we need to be very careful in trying to say that we take so much from, in corporate jargon, there is this famous statement, there is no free lunch, right? Rajivji? We often say there's no free lunch. Yes, yes. But we've been taking the free lunch from this earth for like several years. Yes. We're not paying back. Yes. It's all free, absolutely. We don't even bother, So we really need to. I'm reminded of a beautiful example of conversation in New York that happened between a very prominent agnostic, known agnostic. He was a lawyer, he was a speaker, he was a writer, a gentleman called Robert Green Ingersoll. He's a proclaimed agnostic. He said, I don't believe in God, and he would say it from the rooftop of Empire State Building. He happened to meet Vivekananda sometime 1894, 1890, because Vivekananda had gone to Chicago to address the World Parliament of Religions in 1893, and around that time he met some people in New York. And Robert Ingersoll happened to be one of them. He says, what are you guys talking about? God, this, that. And I don't believe in God. And I'm confirmed atheist. In fact, I believe in extracting every juice from the orange of life. Every ounce, every drop. I don't believe in anything else. I don't believe in existence. Okay? So, Vivekananda, listen to him very carefully. He says, Robert, I also want to do exactly the same thing. I want to do exactly the same thing. But my strategy is to extract juice by juice, gradually from it, and savor every drop of the juice. Because I'm not in a hurry. I know I'm eternal. I'm eternal. In fact, that brings me to another philosophy that we believe, I don't know whether Christians or other people of other believe in that, but we do believe that we are here to stay permanently. Natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadipa nachai bhavishyama sarve mayavatabram. Krishna tells Arjuna, all these people that you see in front of you, your uncle and grandfather and children, everyone, there's no time when they were not here, and there never will be a time when they will not be here. So don't worry about it. You're not going to be instrument in doing anything at all. So we believe that we are on this planet to stay forever. A continuous cycle of birth and death. You see, we what is called, I often say, we often make a statement, we have come to this universe. Where have you come from? Have you come from Jupiter? Have you come from Mars? Have you come from any other planet? No, we've come right from here. You also don't say, you go out from here. वो दुनिया से चले गए. Where is he gone? We don't know. So the important thing is that we believe the five elements: earth, fire, water, sky. These are the one which actually we call Panchabhuta concept of five elements. We are comprised of that. We are made of five elements, of course, through a different biological process, but we get dissolved into this earth as five elements. So, gentlemen, ladies, it's in your interest to keep this word sustainable because you're going to come back here. You're going to come back here time and again. So, it's in the interest of all of us to be sure that we keep this planet and some of the beautiful, well thought out 17 sustainable development goals have been talked about. I think they very comprehensively cover every aspect of human existence, every aspect of human, including economic transformation. And I think it's very important, essentially, and I think the process has already begun, like what Tamar mentioned, that we read to business have to revisit the model, recreate the model to dovetail and incorporate all essential components of sustainable development goals. I would go further down. It is not only the function of people like Rajiv or Shishir or Narang or anybody else to contribute towards sustainability or the government or the NGOs. I think it's a function of each one of us, everybody. We need to think apart from integrating this concept of SDGs in our daily life in whatever workplace that we're doing. It's a responsibility of every student or every boy and girl sitting here to make sure that we keep on contributing towards sustainability by doing little few acts, by not wasting water, not wasting food, by reducing the use of energy. Our ACs keep on running, our water keeps on flowing, and resorting to, and also addressing issues like zero hunger, poverty. I mean, at any fundamental level, we think we've got much more than what we actually need. Does it cost us very much to share something with somebody else? Consciously and as a part of strategy. I think these are some of the very important things that and lastly, of course, the consumption pattern we need to hold back. We don't need much. We don't need, fundamentally, we don't need all that we consume. So we need to look at that. And if your consumption level gets balanced, then I think sustainability of this earth. Otherwise, I'm not sure about its longevity, but sustainability concept of this earth is going to be highly compromised. So I think the great wake-up call, we set 2030, but like somebody said, 8 years have also gone. We don't have much time. But whatever time that we're left with, we must rise, wake up, and respond to the calls of environment, nature, and collectively take it upon us as strong implementer of sustainable development goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the address, for taking us to the cons of extreme indulgence in the materialism, for making us realize our entity as a tenant and our responsibility to pay back. Thank you for such an eloquent address. I now request respected chairman and director, sir, to felicitate our esteemed guests. Students, first of all, the chief guest of the day, Mr. Rajiv Bajaj. Sir, thank you so much for being with us for the day. Huge round of applause, please. Professor Tamar Almore. Professor Tamar Almore, ma'am, thank you so much for being with us. Huge round of applause, please. With this, we end the inaugural session. I once again thank our esteemed chief guest, keynote speaker, Chairman Mr. Malhotra, Dr. Narang, for joining us for the session.